Hi, it's John at C Nation, and you are tuned into the Kush Journals. Join me and my occasional guests each weekday as we discuss all things cannabis in the great state of Utah. Hey, it's John at C Nation, and you are tuned in to the Kush Journals. It is High Times Friday.
Woo!
Say hey, Zen.
Hey, Zen.
Say hey, Jules.
Hey, Jules.
Awesome. Hey, we got a great one today. I know some of you are just going to scratch your head and be like, WTF, are you kidding me? We got some stories
One would think we're kind of past that as a nation, but we're getting there.
But we've got some stories that are some firsthand, some secondhand, that will really put this into perspective. So, you guys know how the High Times Friday works. We generally find a list of fun and entertaining things at hightimes.com, and that's exactly what we did this week. Thanks, Jules.
You're welcome.
This is all Jules. It'll probably be our best podcast ever.
Let's hope.
It is called The 6 Most Ridiculous Ways People Have Tried to Pass a Drug Test.
I'm one of them.
I'll tell you a story from 100 years ago that involves me. It wasn't too ridiculous, but it was a little bit ridiculous. Anyway, this was posted a couple of months ago at hightimes.com and written by Callie Behrens. Thank you very much for the content. Of course, this belongs to High Times. We are just using it for our own means and devices. I'm going to read the opening blurb, word for word, that was written, and then we're going to go down each of the 6. We'll read the highlight. We're not trying to reread the article that was written by Callie Behrens. We've got our own things to say about that.
Yep, we've got our own take on each one of those.
We do. So let's get right to it. It may be the worst surprise in the world, the dreaded, ominous drug test.
Dun, dun, dun.
Right? We need to find that sound effect. If you're a heavy cannabis user, the idea of a drug test can cause anxiety and pressure.
Oh, yeah.
And the businesses with some of the best and highest paying jobs require you to pass with flying colors. Depending on your body, the amount of cannabis you consume, and the amount of physical exercise you enjoy, cannabis can stay in your system for a long time.
Yep.
So a surprise or even short notice drug screening can cause even the calmest stoner to go into a frenzy. Nonetheless, there are successful ways people have tried to pass a drug test. But at the height of anxiety, some of the ways people have tried to pass a drug test are just downright stupid.
Yep.
Stupid. And in some cases, dangerous. So in the event that someone wants to inspect your bodily fluids for drug use, keep calm and educate yourself on the myths. And don't follow these examples. They are the 6 most ridiculous ways people have tried to pass a drug test. Though at the end of this it says 7. I think it's 6, but it says 7. Anyway, we're going to get right to it. Number 1, ingesting harmful chemicals.
Don't do it. I know someone that has, and then they were severely ill.
Oh, let's hear all about it.
Yeah, they drank Clorox bleach because they thought it would get them clean. And they ended up in the hospital. Did they get the job? No, because they didn't drug test.
Read the label on the bottle, please.
It's harmful. Don't, like... Okay, so there is one thing
it
that I did
won't clean your
buy.
clothes. It won't clean your body.
Exactly. So just don't.
How stupid does a person have to be?
Chemicals.
Wow.
Just don't.
There's something about the word solvent, household solvent, that scares me. Solvent's got to be derived roughly from the word dissolve, right?
Hello.
I think bleach will literally dissolve some of your innards.
Oh, yeah. The linings, the everything. Yeah.
I know it can burn your throat.
Oh, yeah.
And that's just breathing it.
And if you throw up, it can be terrible on your olfactory system for sure. But if you throw it up, it's going to burn on
Even
the way
worse.
back up, too. Yeah, I mean,
So let's go on to number 2.
So once again, don't do those Tide Pod challenges either. Like, just stupid. Just don't.
Now, see, this next one, this is one I'm going to talk about, and it's kind of a funny story.
Uh-oh.
But number 2 is urine dilution. I actually don't really have a problem with that because generally you're just overhydrating with water.
Yeah, well, I knew a guy that was going to go to court because he had some issues with drugs and stuff like that. And he drank so much water that he was pretty much peeing water. And they looked at it as you're trying to clean yourself with something, with water.
If your urine isn't at a certain level of other chemicals, it's obvious that you're diluting it.
You're diluting it. And,
there's no question.
He got in trouble for it, you know.
So who the drug testing company notified his company?
It was the court.
And said,
He went and did it for court.
For sure. You probably got a better shot of that, you know, with a private company than with a judge, I'm thinking. But still no guarantees there either. Yeah. I mean, that's for sure. So many moons ago, and I was just thinking about this, it's got to be 25 or 26 years ago now for me. I got notified that I had to take a drug test, and I was dirty for THC, and I really wanted this job. It was like a double pay upgrade job that I had for about a month. I was floored I even got it. Not that I couldn't have eventually gotten that job. I was a little inexperienced for what the hiring manager gave me, but I called my buddy Rick and I'm like, hey man, I'm panicked. I don't know what to do. And basically it was the urine dilution, but he gave me some recipe that I don't really know what. It seemed to have a lot of water and tomatoes in it. But I kid you not, when I wound up, I had to go later that day. So I'm at home all day drinking this soup concoction. I mean, I'm just bursting at the pores. I'm so overhydrated. And I went into the drug testing company and I peed and it was water. I mean, it was clear. And the guy gave the guy the sample and he just looked at me and smirked a little bit and I left. And I never heard another word about it. The company didn't fire me. They didn't say, hey, we got a question about your anything. But that was my real
Maybe the dude was like, hey, you put in a lot of effort to pass this thing. Maybe I'll let you pass.
Listen, I think these things happen at drug testing companies from time to time. Particularly if they're going to screen and the only thing that comes up is THC. Now, granted, this was in the early 90s in Phoenix, and still plenty of cool people in the world at that time. It's not 2018 in Phoenix anymore. Yeah, I was a little surprised. For starters, I didn't think it was going to come out that clear, and I was pretty embarrassed and obviously really conscious of the fact that this did not look like apple juice or like it should have. But you know, neither here nor there, and it seemed to work okay for me. I don't think urine dilution's the most ridiculous solution in the world.
But it's one of the more obvious ones,
It is totally obvious, and you're at the mercy then. Because generally speaking...
They'll retest you if it comes up in...
If they're gracious enough to do that, generally speaking, a tampered with drug test is a failed drug test. Yeah. So at that point, my company could have just said, dude... I might have begged and pleaded.
Nice try, you're fired.
Yeah, I might have begged and pleaded and said, look, let's put me on that super special probation for a little while and I'll be a good boy and you can test me every week for a month or so. But it didn't come to that. So anyway, let's move on to number 3. Number 3, synthetic urine substitutes.
I have to say, this is not a ridiculous one.
I agree again.
This is not ridiculous.
Hold on. If they're watching you pee, it's hard to do.
Yeah, if it's a court, yes. But with me, I was at a job and I was always scared that they were going to drug test me. I was at it probably for about 3 to 4 years. And so I would carry synthetic pests on me every day, all day long, and make sure that the temperature was where it was supposed to because I was afraid. I was making good money at this job. I was getting great benefits. And I was the top agent. I was one of the top agents.
I remember all those days. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so with me, a synthetic pest worked for me. If they're going to do a hair follicle or saliva test, I obviously would have failed.
Sure.
But I had that because the first time I got hired, I did synthetic piss and it worked. So I don't think it's ridiculous unless you know what they're drug testing you for.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Most commonly, though, is going to be for THC, and I guess for opioids, they're most interested in cannabis and heroin for some reason. But yeah, I've known a few people that have always carried that. Some guys have strapped it to their leg and their groin so it's at the temperature it should be. I know people that have kept them kind of taped under or near breasts or near armpits or whatnot just to keep them at body temperature. It's legit urine. I mean, you'll pass a drug test, and I happen to agree, though. If you're on parole or court orders or things like in the military, even we had quite a few drug tests when I was in the military, and they do watch. Yeah. I mean, they watch you pull your junk right out, and yeah, there's no privacy there. Parole officers do the same thing. Courts do the same thing. Prison guards, all that. You're going to try doing that stuff. You might just raise your hand at that point and say, nah, I'm not going to do it, but you can call that a failure. It's all good. I don't care what you're going to do about that. But I'm with you. I don't think it's the worst solution or even necessarily ridiculous, but I don't know. Hopefully as a society, we're just moving past all that. And actually, and I'm going
Hopefully this November, things will go more in the favor of
cannabis. For sure. I mean, and even with some things that are going on now, Oklahoma's got a vote later this month for medical legalization. Now Michigan's on the ballot, Utah's on. I mean, there's a lot of movement this year. I do know that some companies, and they seem to be these California companies, they've already moved ahead. And I'm going to mention eBay by name because I have seen their employment application. They want to know about your drug convictions. Unless it's for cannabis. If it's for cannabis, they don't care.
Wow.
There are a lot of companies
that is progressive.
Yeah, they're looking for meth. They're looking for coke freaks. Which you can generally spot coming into the HR office for an interview. But I think it's pretty cool. And again, that's those California companies that are just like, we so don't care. Everybody already smokes reefer. We know that. It's a losing battle for us. Uncle.
Yeah, we're not going to hire anybody if we drug test everybody.
It's for true.
We're not going to get any employees.
So let's move on. Number 4, more natural urine substitutes.
You gotta trust.
Knock on your neighbor's door and ask them for a cup of pee.
Yeah,
but you never know what your neighbor's on.
It's true.
Hey, Julie, would you pee in a cup? Oh, wait, never mind.
That's why I work for the nation.
And I'd be scared that they'd come back and tell me I was pregnant or something. I mean, these things.
Or on something else. You have some weird disorder.
Yeah, right. It does seem to be pretty big business, though, of people that are heavy cannabis users who are likely to be drug tested tend to have those sources of people that A, are clean, and B, will pee for them. Now, it's into a container. You're going to have to strap it to your leg, breast, armpit, something like that to keep it at temperature. But it seems to be pretty big business. I mean, we've seen all of that in various movies and TV shows. It happens.
Yeah.
And
so that kind of just goes in with what we were talking about with synthetic pee, just the use of it.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes into the next one.
Well, you won't be able to use it in the court order and stuff like that.
Well, true, because they're watching you pee. But that's where it brings in the next one.
So number 5, fake genitals.
That, I think, holy cow, you've got a real big problem if you're going to go to that length to cover your cannabis usage.
That's something that they would do for court. If you're going to fail and you have a felony or whatever, and if you fake...
if they catch you using a device and everything,
you're going to be in trouble.
Well, then you're going to be in more trouble than just peeing dirty.
It's a failed test. So I wonder... I've seen fake penises. Are there fake vaginas? It almost seems like you can just sit down and almost not have to worry about the genital inspection. With a guy standing at a urinal, they don't let guys sit down. You stand at a urinal and you flop your junk out and there it is.
I have never been watched pee.
Right.
I've never gotten in trouble.
I have been, and I think it would be extremely difficult to use something synthetic while being watched. Unless you'd practiced it a billion times in private.
Are there fake female genitals?
I don't know. I've never seen them.
Yeah, I've seen the penises plenty. And they're just kind of attached. I didn't see plenty of penises. That's what you just giggled at. This is a family show, Zen.
Oh, it's a family show about weed.
All right. It's a progressive family show. No, but just in magazines and around, just in this lifestyle, I've seen a lot of those. And you kind of affix them, above where your normal penis is, and you kind of do that whole fruit bowl. You tuck your junk, you know.
Yeah.
That's how it really works. But you'd have to really be in a situation to decide that was the best choice.
Because if you're caught doing that, it's worse than a dirty test. It's like faking a dirty test.
Yeah.
Well,
so
yeah.
Yeah, it's
unless it was for a job.
So yeah, you got another charge on you if it's for the
a
courts.
job that watched one of my friends. They actually had the facility come to the job site that is licensed to do it, and they watched him do it.
Wow.
And he was telling him why he was peeing. I'm gonna fail, you know, and
right.
And so he even got fired that day because they tested it right there. Said he, you know, didn't pass for THC. Blah blah blah. And with me, if I had a job tell me I need to watch you pee, you're not court, you're not the army, you're not the government. I'm not gonna let you watch me.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, no kidding.
If it's not a security clearance issue, if it's not those, I'm with you there. Yeah. You can mind your own business. And,
yeah, you don't need to see my junk.
Yeah, I don't let everybody see it. So yeah, that's for sure. That's a really good point. Let's move on to number 6 here, which I do find to be ridiculous, which I do find to be extreme. And though I haven't seen this firsthand or known anybody that did this firsthand. Oh yeah, no, this is awesome. Number 6, shave all your hair, not some of it.
No, that means all of it, because every
all
single hair on your body has a follicle.
Yep.
And they test the follicles of the hair.
Yeah,
so
I would have to say,
if you shave your head but not your eyelashes or your arm hair or whatever, you still got hair. They're gonna take it.
Yeah, see, I knew someone that shaved everything. He was a man, shaved his face, everything on his face, plucked his eyelashes, shaved his head, his arms, his chest. I mean, shaved it all. He was in his interview with the hair, came in for the drug test, had no hair.
Gee, I wonder what that tells
what
the
happened
place.
there. Like, what happened there? So he did not pass because they made him come back in a couple of weeks when he started getting hair, and they tested him.
So it was a hair test.
It was a hair test.
Wow.
Yeah. And he actually failed because it actually took him 3 months to get clean off of THC.
Yeah.
He must be a heavy smoker. Wow.
He was a heavy smoker. He was also a heavier guy.
Interesting.
So it was just crazy just to see him all bald, and
and it's crazy. I don't know of any company that has ever done any more than a urine test. Now, you had a job.
Yeah, I had a job interview actually. That she took this thing out of a container and said, put this in your mouth. And I held it between my cheeks and my gums for like 3 minutes or whatever. And that was the drug test. That was a saliva drug test. I was really glad I was not smoking at the time because holy crap, that was just out of the blue. Here, put this in your mouth. At the job interview.
Did you know you were being given a drug test?
No, before she put it in my mouth, she told me that's what it was.
I got you.
But yeah, before the job interview, I had no idea that was going to happen.
I've never only known the urinalysis.
That was really on the spot.
I've never known of blood draws or hair tests or even spinal taps. Kennecott,
I can't even say that right now. Kennecott. Oh my God.
I'll say it for you. Kennecott.
Yes. I know that they do hair follicles.
Yeah.
I know that they do it there.
They probably take it very seriously out there. Mining is a dangerous business. Those vehicles are massive.
Yeah, they've got explosives.
Equipment, for sure. I can almost see something like that. I mean, drivers, companies are generally liable when drivers, are under the influence and whatnot. So it's pretty interesting. I remember, this is my only other drug test experience. I had a few in the Army. But what I heard about in the Army was, they're going to test everybody, but then they only randomly sample. Now, the worst thing I ever did in the Army, I take that back. One trip to Amsterdam, we smoked a bunch of reefer over 4th of July weekend. I suppose I could have gotten tagged on that. I didn't really do very much reefer in the Army. It was one of those things that you were probably going to get cracked on if you did. But we did eat a lot of mescaline that we got from Holland. Now, I don't know if mescaline can be detected on a drug test or not, but at least one time in the military, and of course they come in at 4 a.m. with dogs and kick the doors open. They make a big scene of it, and really, I'm not quite sure why, just to scare people, I suppose, because it's the military. But I never failed a military drug test. I knew quite a few people that did, and I knew quite a few people that I did drugs with that got cracked and I didn't. So who knows? Maybe that randomness really was a true story. But my only other experience, and this is just a few years after, funny thing, this was the same company that I went and did the urine dilution. I still worked for them a few years later. And some new management team was coming in, maybe even some new ownership. They were drug testing the company top to bottom. Well, many of us from top to bottom were avid cannabis users, cannabis enthusiasts. I'm talking about the owner of the company, the president of the company, all the engineers I worked with, everybody. We were into the culture, and it was really nice for me because I kept dodging this test for like a week. I kept dodging it. I kept making myself busy elsewhere that I just couldn't quite make it in. Well, my boss, Gene, thank you, Gene, if you're listening, and if you're not, please start. He knew that I was going to get cracked. Why? Because he asked me if I was going to get cracked. And I said, well, Gene, of course. Didn't we just smoke together a couple of days ago? He said, man, I got about 3 weeks worth of gig for you out in New York City. That why don't you just go ahead and catch a plane tonight, catch that red eye out of there and, and behave. And then when you get back, we'll probably just grab you at the airport and drug test you. Anyway, that was a really cool turn of events because by the time I eventually did get drug tested, I was pretty clean.
You got plenty warning.
I did. I hydrated quite a bit. And I might have still gotten protected from Gene. Gene was the president of the company. He's a great guy. He's hired me on more than one occasion at more than one company for more than one different job. He's a guy I've known for a very long time. And he probably would have protected me best he could. But who wants that? Who wants that on their record? Or, just when you fail a drug test and they don't fire you, it seems like things just go south in a hurry anyway. They start looking at you differently. Anyway, that's my really only experiences with drug testing. I've never failed one.
I have two experiences with mine. The first experience was I was working at a temp job, and they were talking about how they were not going to hire the temps. And I was actually clean at this time when I very first started working for them. And this was a really good paying job, great benefits, and I was clean. They told me that they were not going to drug test me. They weren't going to hire me because the economy was getting so bad. So I was like, all right. Well, I went to a party that weekend after they told me that. Someone was holding something that looked like a cigarette, and I grabbed it, and I started puffing on it, found out it was weed. That Monday, they came and told me they were going to drug test me.
Right.
And I tried to dodge it and all that. I actually went to a smoke shop and actually got this drink that you have to drink, put water in it, drink it, put another water in it, drink it. Then the third pee, you'd be clean.
Right.
Well, I did that. I failed my drug test. And because it was a temp job, they had to contact the temp agency and then they had to contact the facility that I was working at. Well, I still wanted to get paid that day. So I went into work, actually told my supervisor the situation. Hey, I'm going to fail this drug test. I just want to let you know. They called me this morning. When they called and told me that I failed, I literally passed out because I was making so much money, great benefits.
That's the worst.
It was the worst. I was heartbroken. And they even tried to tell me, like, why did you have THC in your system? I tried to tell them I was in a room with a whole bunch of people, and they laughed at me.
Sure.
So when I went and told them, my supervisor started crying because I was the #1 agent on his team. No. And he's like, I've never had anybody under your number. So he went and talked to the CEO and the president. Can we try to keep her on? She'll, I told him I'd keep doing a drug test because I haven't smoked for a long time at that time. And so they came back and told me the CEO, they just won't work with me. And I said, how about 6 more months? Can I come back in and try to come back to the job? And they said, no, could never go back to the company. So that was really heartbreaking. That was when I was really young too. And it was, for being a young person and making that much money, it was awesome. So my second situation, which I really want people to be aware of this, I used to work for this company for a very long time. I smoked weed every single day, every break, anytime I could. But I started at this company really in a small position. And 6 years later, I was in a huge high position.
Right.
I was smoking every day. They knew I was smoking. The owner of the company smoked a lot. My huge bosses were smoking with me. Someone ratted me out somewhere in the company and says I was smoking. Well, they had to bring me in and tell me about the drug and alcohol policy.
Right.
They told me in 1 month we're going to drug test you. So then I went and bought spice.
Oh.
And smoked that
and
for a month?
started smoking that to try to get clean.
Oh, don't do that.
Don't buy spice. Don't buy synthetic weed. I did not feel like myself. I didn't feel like I was smoking
So this was
weed.
back when spice was everywhere.
Yeah,
you could
you
buy
could
it in
buy
every
it. You
smoke
could buy-
shop.
yeah.
And you can't
And
anymore, really.
You can
yeah.
buy it off the streets,
Right.
but it's really bad for you. I felt
isn't
like
it?
a zombie.
I did not like it at all.
I didn't like it, and
people have died.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
starting to see people dying, like people getting called, and just
Right.
it's horrible. So what happened with me is I went and bought that synthetic piss. And I used it and passed, but I turned right back to weed because I didn't like the spice. The weed was helping me out with my medical issues and all of that. So, I would just say the synthetic piss always worked for me because I knew it was going to be a urine test.
Right.
So I used that fake piss and I passed. And even still, after that, after they talked to me about it, things started like you said. Get a little iffy at work, and people are starting to keep their more eyes on you, and so I kind of just left at that point and went somewhere else.
It's
but
rotten.
it was funny at the very end, like, haha, I passed the drug test, but they
Right.
didn't know I was re-smoking again.
Yeah.
So just stay away from synthetic weed.
You know, it's an interesting situation. If you have a job you really like, with income that you really like, and it's just a great job,
Just stop.
maybe you shouldn't put it at risk. I mean, it is easier, I suppose, to not smoke cannabis than it is to jump through all of these hoops to try and figure out how to scam a test that you might still fail.
Yeah. Well, and also, if you're working at a job that has heavy equipment, stuff like that, and you
Right.
get hurt on the job, most likely they're going to
For-
drug test
for
you. They're going to
insurance
take you-
purposes, they will.
They
No
will
question.
take
And
you
if
to
you
the
have
hospital.
THC in your system, even if you weren't high while on the
Yeah.
job, if you have THC in
Yeah.
your system, boom, you're
Yeah,
toast.
even if you smoke that night before, because you have to go to sleep
And
or
that's
something.
generally the case with people. They have the latent THC in their system, but not the active. And
Yeah.
it's really a shame. Well, you know, on the other hand,
Testing on that really needs to be upgraded.
yeah, most companies, I think, just need to stop with this silliness, particularly THC, and particularly with, you know, just certain levels of employees. You know, you're going in for a $10, $12, $15 an hour job to kind of be, you know, just a rank and file employee doing this, that, or the other. Really?
Unless they're acting stupid.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
Unless somebody is obviously
Yeah,
high
I-
on the job, messing up their
I'm-
job, it's none of anybody else's business.
I'm down with that. I think companies ought to reserve the right to drug test whenever they need to. But yeah,
For other harsher drugs.
I
even alcohol.
agree 100%. Like we mentioned earlier in the podcast, some companies are just stepping away and saying, cracked for THC, cracked for can, we don't care.
Yeah.
Meth, coke, heroin, we might care. But yeah. So anyway, that is the 6 most ridiculous ways people have tried to pass a drug test. Some weren't too ridiculous though.
I
But
think the most ridiculous one was the false genitals.
No,
'Cause really, if you're,
mine
if
is
you're going,
nipples.
hold on, if you're going to that extent to fake a piss test
Right.
that you're gonna
Well-
like use a prosthetic, well, maybe you really shouldn't be smoking at the point because that's court.
yeah, I'm with you. The bleach. I mean,
Oh,
the,
yeah.
the hair thing is just too obvious. You just, there are
Hello.
very, very, very few people on the planet who literally have no hair.
Yeah.
It exists as a condition, but boy, oh boy, 1 in a million, 1 in 100 million. It's
Yeah, if I can't find a follicle on you, I'm gonna assume there's a problem with the follicle.
Yeah,
Or what I'm
anyway,
gonna find in it.
so thank you, High Times, for this article. Thank you, Callie Barons, for writing it for us. It's accurate. It's spot on. We enjoyed it a great deal. Thank you very much for the Kush Journals. I'm C Nation John. Say goodbye, Zan.
See ya.
Say goodbye, Jules.
See you guys later. And if you like what we were saying, just let us know your stories.
Absolutely. Be safe. Stay informed.
Woo!
The Kush Journals is a copyrighted broadcast of the South American Gold Corporation. We appreciate your likes and shares on social media, including Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.